I'm Marissa Leibel, and this is my persuasive speech. This is my audience.
Okay. And then, how far do you deliver?
Actress, model, Playboy playmate, sex symbol.
Okay.
These are the words that describe one of Hollywood's most famous actresses, Miss Marilyn Monroe. Miss Marilyn Monroe was born June 1st of 1946. As a child, she traveled from foster home to foster home, and her original name was Norma Jean Mortensen. Her first career was as a model, which then led her to get a contract in the film industry, that led her to be an actress. Her life was ended shortly. On August 5th of 1962, she was found dead in her Brentwood home. Her death was ruled a suicide, but I and many others believe, along with the coroner that performed her autopsy, think that Marilyn was murdered. So I'm going to show you the evidence and the facts that prove Marilyn was murdered. We start the night of her death. At approximately 1 a.m., the housemaid tried to gain access to her room and wake Marilyn. She was not able to do this, so she called the doctor. Marilyn's doctor arrived at approximately 3 a.m. and was not able to gain access to the room or wake Marilyn either. He then told police. It was later reported that he tried to break into her room. He broke the window to gain access to her room. This is the first piece of evidence that is suspicious about this case. It is said that he broke from the outside in. But pictures of the crime scene show that there was no glass inside the room. It also shows witnesses say that there was glass outside the room, as if someone was in and broke out. The doctor also was there at 3 a.m. and then called the police at 5 a.m. This is the second suspicious piece of evidence. Why is there such a time lapse between when the doctor arrived and pronounced her dead at 3 to when the police showed up at 5? It is alleged that the doctor was paid to kill Marilyn Monroe. The police, of course, arrived at 5 a.m. They took the doctor's word for as it was and declared it a suicide scene. They never conducted an investigation and never took any pieces of evidence from the room. The most compelling pieces of evidence in this case are the autopsy results. They performed the autopsy and found no pill residue in her stomach whatsoever. But the toxicology results came back and said that there was a high level of pills that would have caused her to overdose in her blood. When consulted with this fact that the stomach had no pill residue, but the blood test came back that there was pill residue, they called for a second blood test. But the lab came back and said that they had lost all the blood samples. The coroner then revealed that Marilyn Monroe's colon was discolored and dead. He said this was due to the fact that she had received an enema with poison in it that would have killed her colon and then ultimately killed her. These results were quickly dismissed and never continued to see if this was a possible way that she was murdered. So now that we know how Marilyn died, who wanted Marilyn dead? It is a well-known fact that she had connections to John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy, and she was also friends with a high-ranking gangster member. The gangster member also had her phone tapped, and they deemed that she was a risk of leaking information to the public about gangster activities and the affair that was alleged between John F. Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe. There was a conversation the night of Marilyn's death between John F. Kennedy and Marilyn. Marilyn had told John that if they did not continue the affair together, that Marilyn would go to the public about their affair. Recently, legal documents have come to the surface that the Kennedys tried to pay Marilyn Monroe off with a $600,000 lawsuit that would keep her quiet and never make the affair known to the world. It is a known fact when people know too much about high-ranking officials, usually they need to get silenced. You can see the intimacy between John and Marilyn Monroe in this video taken just a few months before her death. This was the newspaper article released the very next day, just stating that Marilyn Monroe is dead. Evidence was never released in this case, and there was little known facts about her death. This is a picture of Marilyn Monroe and John F. Kennedy cuddling. There was an alleged affair between them, and the biggest theory of why Marilyn Monroe was killed was her affair between her and John F. Kennedy. This was the very first Playboy issue that featured Marilyn Monroe on the cover. This was how she gained her fame and fortune, by starting out as a model, which led to her acting career. And this was the only known picture that has been released of her crime scene, of Marilyn dead in her bed and all the pill bottles next to her framed to show that she was a suicide victim. We may never know how truly Marilyn Monroe died, but I believe Marilyn Monroe was not a suicide victim. I believe she was a victim of homicide.